Traveling through the Han family, he was the uncle of Emperor Ling of Han in terms of seniority. The uprising of the Righteous Yellow Turban led to the rise of various feudal lords. And Liu Qian, who holds the krypton gold system, said that there is no pressure at all. Wuzu, Xuanjia Army, Iron Eagle Sharp Warriors, Mongolian Iron Cavalry, and Beiwei Army are in hand, and I have them all in the world. In this era, various types of soldiers from past and future generations have emerged one after another, and what kind of brilliance will they shine? Liu Bei. Uncle Liu Qian, I am my own person. Liu Qian. Get lost, don't climb relatives without a family tree. Cao Cao. Who can understand the legacy of Wei Wu? Liu Qian's backyard is full of beautiful women, why can't I get them? The Copper Sparrow Terrace is still empty. Liu Qian. Drunk and lying on the knees of beautiful women, all the beauties in this world are in my hands. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. If you have money, you have to pay for it. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The sun is setting in the west. The dim yellow afterglow scattered over a towering building. Luoyang. As the eastern capital of the Han dynasty, even in the late period of the dynasty, it gave people an incredibly prosperous feeling. In a luxurious attic in the inner city. The surface is bustling. In a few years, this place will be in ruins. Liu Qian looked at the city in front of him and couldn't help but sigh. Jia Yi pays his respects to the Lord. A deep voice came from the shadow behind Liu Qian. Speak up. Without turning back, Liu Qian still gazed into the distance. Master, there's news from Zhong side. Oh. Upon hearing these words, Liu Qian turned around and asked with great interest, how much does that eunuch want? Lord, we are unable to purchase the position of Sangong at the moment. According to Lord's previous request, the position of the county magistrate is priced at 1,000 gold coins. 1,000 gold coins, this dead eunuch really dares to ask for a price. Liu Qian roast. Let our people in Zhang's mansion find opportunities. My lord, although people have infiltrated and gained the favor of Zhong, it is still difficult to enter the place where Zhong's treasures are hidden. It's okay. Waving his hand, Liu Qian smiled and said, there's plenty of time, just take it slow. My money isn't that easy to get. Also, the ones I emphasized earlier may not necessarily have a large number of people, but they must occupy an important position. If you need money, go directly to Jia San to get it. Yes, my lord. As Liu Qian waved his hand, the person in the shadow disappeared as if they had never appeared before. 3 years have passed, and the accumulation of money has also reached the goal. Next, we are waiting for the world to become chaotic. Liu Qian had a deep gaze and silently calculated in his heart. That's right, it has been 3 years since Liu Qian traveled here. The plot is not about dog blood, what matters is the outcome. For the past 3 years, Liu Qian utilized the knowledge of later generations to thrive in this bustling city of Luoyang. The accumulated wealth is enough to make many people envious. But fortunately, Liu Qian was very satisfied with the identity he had traveled through, because his surname was Liu. The surname Liu alone is secondary, and what's important is that Liu Qian is indeed a relative of the Han family. It's also a coincidence that Liu Qian is a descendant of Prince Jing of Zhongshan, Liu Sheng. This is similar to the abnormality of Liu Bei and Liu Dare. But the difference between the two is that Liu Qian's identity is based on a family tree. This thing existed when Liu Qian wore it over, and what made Liu Qian somewhat amused was based on the information he possesses about Liu Bei, not to mention the authenticity of Liu Bei's identity, but purely in terms of seniority, Liu Qian is 1 generation older than Liu Bei. That is to say, if Liu Bei's identity is recognized, he must call himself uncle. Due to the family genealogy and Liu Qian's considerable wealth, he has been registered with Zhong and is a genuine member of the Han family. Liu Sheng, the Prince Jing of Zhongshan, is a stallion with too many descendants. Even if his identity was recognized, Liu Qian did not gain much benefit. Liu Qian didn't care. This identity has already been officially recognized, which is the key. When the world is in chaos, he will become famous. With this identity, the likelihood of recruiting civil and military officials far exceeds that of other feudal lords. The speed of incubation is fast again. Gollum. I casually took off the jade pendant from my waist, and with a strange sound, a mysterious pattern on the pendant slowly circulated, as if it had come to life and was about to surge out. The biggest contributor to the stable development to this day is this jade pendant. This thing can give birth to life forms. Or in Liu Qian's view, this thing is just like the clones of later generations. These people, due to the relationship nurtured by the jade pendant, are in a state of absolute loyalty to Liu Qian. From 1 in the beginning to 10 in a day, the speed of pregnancy is clearly related to the strength of my body. This can be considered as the pattern summarized by Liu Qian. Knowing that this is a chaotic world, Liu Qian naturally wouldn't be a powerless existence. The patterns are gradually discovered through experiments. Every time Liu Qian's body is elevated to a higher level, the speed of conception will accelerate. And this jade pendant generates a warm current into Liu Qian's body every day, which clearly indicates that his potential is constantly increasing. In this era, ordinary people's lives are difficult to guarantee. If it weren't for people with exceptional talents, their bodies would generally be weak. This warm current made Liu Qian's improvement seem like there was no bottleneck, which allowed him to rapidly improve his body in just 3 years. And within 3 years, the number of people born has also reached thousands. Being able to conceive, Liu Qian naturally had his own ideas. This kind of pregnancy, although not many people in a day, cannot be underestimated over time. During these 3 years, Liu Qian also experimented. The characters nurtured are stronger than ordinary people in this era. But it did not reach the state of crushing. The feeling it gives is that most ordinary people in this era are unable to eat enough or wear warm clothes, and their bodies are not strong. And what is nurtured is without these conditions and limitations. Of course. These are not the main points. There is another function that Liu Qian accidentally discovered. This jade pendant is fine. Kryptonite. This is like an external cheat. For example, Wei Wuzu. 100,000 gold. De Qin Iron Eagle Elite. 100,000 gold. Basically, the special types of troops that Liu Qian had heard of all existed, which was what Liu Qian believed to be the core of the struggle for world domination. It doesn't matter if it's just 100,000 gold. According to Liu Qian, as a descendant, it is still easy to make money. According to the explanation given by the jade pendant, opening it costs so much money. If you want to conceive, you still need money. If it weren't for setting a certain number of ordinary soldiers for himself every day based on his physical fitness, Liu Qian would have felt that this jade pendant had fallen into his eye for money. This gold can also be exchanged for silver and 5 baht coins. Otherwise, if this continues, Liu Qian wouldn't even know if the gold in this world is enough for him to use. In addition, there is a special pregnancy of 100 gold coins. Liu Qian has tried several times. These nurtured individuals, some skilled in lurking, some skilled in business, and some with other characteristics, even possessing the characteristic of assassination, but in summary, they have nothing to do with civil servants and generals. But the effects that these features can have at certain times are absolutely amazing. Chapter 2. The Strategist, Sun Yu and Sun Gongda. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Like Jia Yi and others, they all appear in this way. After giving birth to these people, Liu Qian gradually moved towards the background. Even if it's a relative, Liu Qian doesn't have much support. It's this appearance that makes me speechless. The biggest similarity among these people who have been nurtured is their ordinary appearance. They have both men and women, but they are the kind of beings that are placed in a pile of people and not valued at all. Otherwise, Liu Qian has a lot of ideas to implement. But this is already enough. Well used, this effect is undoubtedly enormous. Calculating the time, that guy should have arrived too, right? Shaking his head, Liu Qian stopped thinking and turned around with a smile as he walked down the attic. After leaving home, Liu Qian walked towards a nearby wine house. Master. The wine house is very lively, with a hint of overcrowding. Upon seeing Liu Qian enter, a man with an ordinary appearance quickly ran over and whispered a word before being interrupted by Liu Qian. Has anyone arrived yet? Still in the old place. Liu Qian nodded slightly. This wine house is one of Liu Qian's industries. Or rather, Liu Qian had many industries throughout Luoyang, otherwise it would be difficult to accumulate a large amount of wealth in just a few years. Stepping towards the inside. The design of this wine house adopted a lot of later styles by Liu Qian, with many independent elegant rooms inside. Thanks to various special conditions different from this era, it has also attracted many customers. Pushing open the door of the largest private room, Liu Qian walked in. Uncle Huang, today is too late. Gongda, what's your name, Uncle Huang? Liu Qian smiled and shook his head, saying, just call me Xiaoqing. Xiaoqing, this is the character Liu Qian chose for himself. It can't be said how stunning it is, but Qing is already an official position system. There is a young man in his 20s with a fair complexion in the elegant room. A faint beard made him look very mature, with straight features and a pair of eyes shining with wisdom. Etiquette cannot be abolished. Sun Yu, Sun Gongda. At this moment, he still insists on his own viewpoint. Liu Qian didn't care and knelt down at the table opposite Sun Yu. In this way, Liu Qian can't help but complain about roast. However, in this era, there are no tables and chairs. Kneeling is also a kind of etiquette to respect each other. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. Uncle Huang, you can do whatever you want. You don't care about these things. Seeing Liu Qian's movements, Sun Yu was a bit amused and quickly explained. When they first met, Liu Qian didn't get used to kneeling and changed to a cross-legged position, which really caused a lot of jokes. After the two became familiar, they didn't care about this matter. Gongda, how have you been thinking? Liu Qian didn't hesitate, he should kneel cross-legged. If it weren't for most people not being able to take over, Liu Qian would have been sitting in a chair long ago, and there were quite a few in his own home. Looking at Sun Yu, who was still in a young state in front of him, Liu Qian did not conceal his eager expression at all. Sun Yu. This is a top strategist that Liu Qian believes is underestimated. Even Liu Qian was willing to give Sun Yu the title of mastermind. This is one of the most dazzling people in the Cao Wei group, perhaps slightly weaker than Wulong, Fengchu, Sima, and Gui Kai, and also extremely limited. A strategist relies on strategy, and after gaining advantages in various aspects such as military strength, the slight gap can be ignored. At this time, before the Yellow Turban Uprising, Sun Yu was undoubtedly one of the top group of people. Uncle Huang. Sun Yu gave a bitter smile. Gongda, there's no need to rush to respond to that sentence. I'm just a Zhong Jingqing now, and the Xuanzi clan's Xuanzi 8 dragons are famous all over the world. Uncle Huang, are you that shallow person? Sun Yu's tone was somewhat urgent. You are just a novice now. Thanks to Uncle Huang's attention, you agreed. Okay. Liu Qian's eyes lit up. I have known Sun Yu for quite some time now. Over the past year, Liu Qian has invited him multiple times, and now he has finally received a response. Tomorrow, I will go to Zhongzheng's side to demand an official position from Gongda. However, Gongda should not expect too much. I am only 1,000 stones in rank now. Sun Yu knew it was Liu Qian's joke, but he didn't take it seriously. Uncle Huang, you are currently penniless. I need to manage enough of Shaoqing's wine today. Rest assured, today is a drunken day. Liu Qian was equally happy. This Shaoqing liquor was created by Liu Qian. It's actually simple. Although Liu Qian was a descendant, he was just an ordinary person. Things like gunpowder, smelting, and so on, Liu Qian doesn't know anything at all, at most he only has a partial understanding, and creating them is not realistic. But there were too many impurities in the wine during this period. Simple filtering of Liu Qian can still be done. By the way, with a simple distillation, I obtained the Shaoqing liquor that I named myself. There are not too many impurities, which will not affect the taste, and the alcohol content has also increased slightly. Although still vastly different from later generations, it is a surprising product at this time. A large part of Liu Qian's accumulated wealth comes from this Shaoqing liquor. With the decision made, the conversation between Sun Yu and Liu Qian also became more casual. After 3 rounds of drinking, Sun Yu is already lying on the table. Take good care of Gongda, there's no need to send him back to Sun's mansion. Take him to the room in the backyard to rest. Yes, my lord. Although the alcohol content has increased, it is not a big deal for Liu Qian. At this time, Liu Qian is still sober. After giving orders, Liu Qian stood up and left. The world is not chaotic yet, even if you haven't called me Lord yet, when you come to my side, you can't run away. Liu Qian is not in a hurry. At this time, Emperor Ling of Han was still alive, and there was chaos in the world, but it would take a few more years. When the warlords were in power, Liu Qian could naturally participate. Sun Yu is not his uncle Sun Yu. The level of sincerity towards the Han dynasty is not as high, so when the time comes, they naturally bow. And through this, Sun Yu, Wang Zuazikai, to be honest with Cao Aman, such talents cannot be left for you. If there is already a desire to compete, naturally they will not add chips to the other party. Liu Qianhui weakened the opponent's strength to the best of his ability in the early stage. Although it was impossible to control the overall situation, his advantage was always accumulated from small details. When the Han dynasty was in name only, Liu Qian had the status of a relative. As long as he operated properly, Sun Yu could not escape. Chapter 3. Seeking Kai Yong's help. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The next day, Liu Qian arrived at the Zongjing mansion. At this time, the Zhong was his relative Liu Yu. In terms of benevolence, Liu Yu is indeed good, but in terms of ability, he appears average. In the later stage, he held the official position of Yuzhou pastor, but died tragically under the command of Gongsun Zan, which is a testament. Liu Yu has a high reputation among ethnic groups such as Xianbei, Wuwan, and Wuhuan in the future, and if given the opportunity, he can still save his life. Liu Qian and Liu Yu belong to the same clan, and even Liu Qian's seniority is higher than Liu Yu's. In addition, the reputation of the Sun family made it very smooth to seek official positions. Previously, Liu Qian's official position was established through money, and the Han family's relatives were also useless. They recognized money but not people. If it is a lineage that has a close relationship with Emperor Ling of Han, it is not necessary to do so. But King Jing of Zhongshan. Forget it, I don't know how many descendants there are. That is to say, Liu Qian is better and can be considered the legitimate lineage of the Zhongshan Prince Jing lineage. After all, having a family tree can explain everything. Due to this relationship, Liu Qian and Liu Yu have a good relationship. This Liu Yu is not a first-class person in Zhongrang, and his official position was successfully obtained, which can be considered as saving a fortune. Like a small official position belonging to the general government, Liu Yu can decide, as long as it is reported, there will be no problems. The chief clerk of Zongjing subordinates. Ranking 600 stones, neither high nor low, also under the jurisdiction of Liu Qian. Liu Qian, the prime minister of the Zhong family, can be considered as the deputy of the Zhong family. He does not have much real power, but with this title, he can also solve many problems. After leaving the Zhongjing mansion, Liu Qian quickly arrived outside a courtyard. Master. The two servants dressed up at the door quickly greeted Liu Qian in a low voice when they saw him coming over. Liu Qian waved his hand and walked straight inside. Just as I entered the courtyard, a melodious sound of the piano entered my ears. Zhao Ji's piano skills have improved again. Liu Qian smiled at the corner of his mouth. Just as I arrived at the living room, I saw a middle-aged man welcoming me. Uncle Huang. The man wore a smile on his face. Kai. Stop, stop, stop. The man interrupted Liu Qian's words directly and said somewhat helplessly, Uncle Liu, although I have been obsessed with you for some years, you are still a relative of the Han family. We can discuss our relationship as equals. Liu Qian smiled bitterly, this person is too loyal. Men are one of the great Confucian scholars of the Eastern Han dynasty, Kai Yong. Normally, at this time, Kai Yong is still in a state of exile. It was Liu Qian's help that allowed Kai Yong to return to Luoyang at this time, with Liu Yu's help being the most important. How can you marry your daughter? Roast to himself, Liu Qian would not say it. Kai Wenji was only 8 years old at this time. She could only see but could not move, otherwise what would become? Animals. But it's still possible to make an engagement. Okay. Liu Qian sighed helplessly and said, Bo Jia, don't call me Uncle Huang either. This rumor is not very good. Xiao Qing, you are quite open-minded. Kai Yong smiled and shook his head. Kai Yong is different from Sun Yu. Kai Yong is a great Confucian scholar with a wide range of acquaintances and numerous disciples, which is not a good thing for Liu Qian to spread. Although the identity is confirmed, the relationship between him and Emperor Ling of Han is not much different. He is a relative who lives even further away than a distant family. Even though he has already logged into the register, if Emperor Ling of Han doesn't see Liu Qian and doesn't give a response, it's just that he has no real name. Liu Qian and Kai Yong sat down. Xiao Qing, what's going on at this time today? This courtyard, including the servants, was arranged by Liu Qian, and with the invitation of exiled Kai Yong back to Luoyang, this so-called kindness cannot be overstated. However, Liu Qianlai usually comes at night, bringing some Shaoqing liquor and having a few drinks with Kai Yong to enhance his relationship. It seems like this is the first time at this time. There are 3 things. Oh. Kai Yong was slightly surprised. The first thing, I need Bo Jia to recommend some talents to me, preferably those who can manage one side. Governance on one side. Kai Yong's eyes were slightly fixed, looking at Liu Qian with some suspicion. It's like this. Liu Qian knew what Kai Yong was thinking and explained with a smile, it won't be long before I'm afraid I'll be released. I see, I think Xiao Qing is confident. If you say so, then it should be so. I helped with this favor. Kai Yong nodded repeatedly. In addition, some of my old friends also have some students who want to become officials. When Xiao Qing leaves Luoyang, I believe they will not refuse. Liu Qian's heart was clear as a mirror. With your current position as Zhong Jingsheng, not many people are willing to follow you. But expatriation is different. After all, Liu Qian is also a Han family relative. In addition, Liu Qian had already planned to operate and his position would not be too low. Great. Surprise joy. Liu Qian is very satisfied with this result. Among the students of Kai Yong, there are many talented individuals. And who are Kai Yong's old friends? Those are all well-known figures from all over the world, and their disciples can be imagined to be of some kind. Even if not everyone agrees, a small portion is enough. Xiao Qing, I know you have a lot of wealth, but if you are sent abroad, you cannot have fewer people. Nature. Liu Qian knew what Cao Cao meant. This old man can be considered to have put in his heart and lungs. As a great scholar, there is no need to say much about his loyalty to the Han dynasty. But it was indeed a sincere treatment towards Liu Qian, and such words were not spoken casually. People, Liu Qian is not lacking. Over a period of 3 years, with the reputation of Han family members and the operation of later generations, the special military branch Liu Qian had long been established. In the short term, Liu Qian needs to be in Luoyang. Cavalry was obviously not suitable, and there was no place to place them, so Liu Qian decisively chose Wei Wuzu. Now in the city of Luoyang, including personal guards and various industries, the total number of Wei soldiers combined is enough for 3,000 people. There are also thousands of ordinary pregnant people, and together, the two are about to make up a total of 10,000. And among them, 3,000 Wei soldiers are enough to form a battle formation. Even if there are 30,000 people on the opposite side, they can be defeated in one battle. This is Liu Qian's confidence. To put it bluntly, if Liu Qian wanted to, Luoyang city could be completely conquered overnight. In Luoyang, even if thousands of people were dispersed, it would not attract attention, and Liu Qian's industries had also developed significantly, without causing any waves. But 10,000 people are different, and some of them have already been sent out of Luoyang by Liu Qian for other purposes. Chapter 4, Isn't it just about lusting for your daughter? You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. At this time, what Liu Qian lacked were governance, military command, and strategists. This second thing, I need Bojia to create momentum for me. Creating momentum. Cao Yong raised his eyebrows slightly. Sure, it seems that Shaoqing's plan is quite impressive. There is no need to say too much when communicating with smart people. The so-called hype is nothing more than raising Liu Qian's reputation in this Luoyang city. With Cao Yong's identity and status, such a thing is very simple. Having a reputation can bring great benefits to Liu Qian's words, and this is the most important thing in this era. Shaoqing, it's all thanks to you that I can still return to Luoyang. Cao Yong had some emotions. And he also gave me a place to settle down, even including all his servants. Such kindness is indescribable. Liu Qian's expression remained unchanged, but his heart was indeed filled with joy. Even without himself, in a few years, Cao Yong would still return to Luoyang and restore himself as an official. Liu Qian was just ahead of schedule. As for the servants in this courtyard, Liu Qian has quite a few in his hands. Even though the opening and nurturing of Wei Wuzu consumed most of Liu Qian's financial resources, the remaining amount was still enormous. According to your status as a Han family member and being such a talented person, it would be a bit of a waste of talent to be a Zhong Jingcheng. Yong is not talented, some old friends still have some status. I will recommend this filial piety and honesty promotion, so I don't think there will be any problems. To uphold filial piety and integrity. Liu Qian was surprised. In the Han dynasty, it was extremely important to have a filial and honest background. Even at times, it is even more important than oneself as a Han family member. Liu Qian knew that Cao Yong's intention of repaying kindness with compensation was within it. Of course. The talent demonstrated by Liu Qian is extremely important, and it is impossible for a great scholar like Cao Yong to use his power for personal gain. Zhu Xiaoyan, with the addition of this Han family member's identity, as long as it is slightly operated, Zhang Rank's side may not need to borrow it anymore. Thinking in his heart, Liu Qian nodded to himself. Zhang Rank's reputation is very bad, especially after the death of Emperor Liu Hong. With the help of Zhang Rank's relationship, he may be criticized in the future. And that dark guy is also getting closer recently, saving $1,000. TSK, the new special unit is not far away. Part of Liu Qian's wealth belongs to fixed assets, while the other part also requires expenses from his subordinates. Just like normal people, human cloning has everything to eat, drink, and eat. Liu Qian can't help but want to roast. But if it really doesn't need to, it will still arouse suspicion. This is when someone comes to deliver a pillow after dozing off. Kai Yong's move, Liu Qian can be considered right. Thank you very much, Boji. Liu Qiandong arched his hand. This is indeed what he needs, there is no need to deliberately shirk anything. What is the third thing, Shaoqing? Kai Yong is a bit curious. The first two things, in his opinion, are both reasonable things. With such a great talent, Kai Yong would be unable to accept it if he did not contribute to the great Han dynasty. The third thing is quite simple to say. Zhao Ji is still unmarried, isn't she? A sentence froze Kai Yong's curious expression. Shaoqing, you. It's really me. Liu Qian directly took on Kai Yong's words. With a natural tone, he said, in terms of our friendship alone, it's understandable for me to say such things. With thick skin, Liu Qian understood this truth. Kai Yong's face was somewhat awkward. Hey. After sighing, Kai Yong smiled bitterly and said, I said the title of Shaoqing before. Speaking of which, it's even more awkward. Why not discuss friendship with your peers? Greedy girl from your family. Silence. For Kai Yong, the amount of information in this is quite large. In terms of friendship, my family was able to return to Luoyang thanks entirely to Shaoqing. In terms of identity, Shaoqing is a relative of the Han family, and is my Zhao Ji Gao Pan. After a while, Kai Yong let out a sigh. There's a play. Bringing Kai Yong back to Luoyang, such a long period of contact has increasingly strengthened the relationship, and Liu Qian has no intention at all. Since that's the case, I agree. I have some knowledge about the situation at Shaoqing's house. Let's settle the matter by giving some dowry. Having made the decision, Kai Yong seemed to have relaxed as well. Kai Yong only made an engagement with the Wei family a few years later. Liu Qian directly brought Kai Yong back to Luoyang early, so there would be no difference. It's not been many years since Zhao Ji and Ji arrived, and once the matter is settled, I can be considered to have understood a wish. In addition, I will invite some friends over this time, which happens to pave the way for Shaoqing's future. It's done. Shaoqing, have you met your father.In.Law? P.S. During this period, father.In.Law should be referred to as Fu Gong, and for the convenience of reading and easy understanding, they are collectively referred to as father.In.Law. Ha ha ha, good. Kai Yong burst out laughing. He himself was a great scholar, and now his daughter has been betrothed to the imperial family again. For a while, Kai Yong also felt that his life was complete. The only regret was that he would have to retire again. Subsequently, the two of them began to communicate again. Unlike before, the change in identity has made communication more harmonious. Previously, Kai Yong would help Liu Qian, but only to repay his kindness. But now, how could Kai Yong not do his best to help Liu Qian? The two of them didn't notice that a little maid outside was eavesdropping. Most of the servants were summoned by Liu Qian through jade pendants. And this maid grew up with Zhao Ji from a young age. Xiaohuan, why are you panicking? In the backyard pavilion, a little girl dressed in powder and jade had just finished playing the piano when she saw a maid running over in panic and looking at her in surprise. Long hair naturally falls out. Although only 8 years old, one can tell from her delicate facial features that she will definitely be a stunning beauty after a few years. Young lady, young lady. The breath was a bit rapid, and Xiaohuan ran to Zhaoji. Uncle Liu has come over. Brother Shaoqing. Zhaoji's beautiful eyes lit up and she quickly stood up. Xiaohuan told you, there's no need to call her young master, just call her sister. Even though she was anxious in her heart, Zhaoji did not forget these small things. Even at a young age, in this era, such a family has long understood many things. Chapter 5 Marriage and planning. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. Kai Yong's education is very good. From childhood to adulthood, Zhao Ji was never considered a servant. Xiao Huan smiled somewhat foolishly and said, "It was the master and Uncle Liu who said. Let's talk about it when I come back." Zhao Ji was a bit anxious and lightly moved her lotus steps. This seemed to be a contradictory combination, but it didn't give anyone any abrupt feeling. "I want to betroth my sister to Uncle Liu." Ah. Zhao Ji's movements came to a sudden halt as she was walking. "Xiaohuan, what are you saying?" The expression on that beautiful little face was somewhat frozen, but a pair of beautiful eyes stared at the small ring, indescribably cute. "Sister is getting married to Uncle Liu." This kind of gaze may seem intimidating to Xiao Huan, but at this point, Xiao Huan has recovered and his speech is smoother. "Give it a try." The pure white and jade-like pretty face instantly turned red. "Marry younger brother Xiaoqing." The redness became more and more obvious, and the big eyes became curved. A smile couldn't hide it. "Sister, won't you go see Uncle Liu?" The maid clearly didn't know much, and when she saw Zhao Ji stop, she was somewhat surprised. Zhao Ji gave Xiaohuan a helpless glare. Even though she is not very old, women in this era mature early, so it is indeed not suitable to meet in person. "Master." In Liu Qian's courtyard, Jia Yi knelt on one knee. On Kai Yong's side, as expected by Liu Qian, everything went smoothly. Jia Yi. Force. 50, Intelligence. 50, Features. Management, Business. This is what traits give birth to. However, the characteristics of the characters conceived are all random. Liu Qian nodded slightly. These are all our own, tool people, although they are nurtured, they are still living beings. The calculation time is also around. Liu Qian silently estimated the time. To disperse the people below, one must find someone named Tang Zhou within 3 months. Yes. This Tang Zhou can be said to be the key to Liu Qian's next plan. The position of county magistrate was the lowest goal in Liu Qian's mind. Tang Zhou can also be considered a celebrity in the Yellow Turban Uprising, and using him can bring me huge benefits. There are some things that Liu Qian wouldn't tell others, such as knowing the future and having a jade pendant. Give it a good run, and with the addition of Uncle Huang's identity, it's understandable to go further. Looking at the night sky, a joyful feeling emerged. Over the past 3 years, Liu Qian has quietly developed and started off like walking on thin ice. Now, finally everything is on track. Lord, in the past 3 years, we have absorbed over 1,000 children from the surrounding villages. Oh. Liu Qian was slightly surprised. Breaking 1,000. This is really a considerable number. During these 3 years, due to the jade pendant, Liu Qian had his own team. Pregnancy every day is due to the improvement of physical fitness. Perhaps it will accelerate in the future, but even if it grows to a few dozen in a day, Liu Qian is not satisfied. In the later stage of the battle, which one was not a confrontation of tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands. So absorbing more people becomes inevitable. Adults, with their own opinions, must first become loyal, and there are too many factors involved. But children are different. Accepting such thoughts from a young age, also known as brainwashing, will not be a problem after reaching adulthood. Very good. Liu Qian nodded with a smile and said, "Keep recruiting, don't be afraid of spending money. In 3 years, we have recruited 1,000 people, which may not sound like a lot, but it is already not easy to get so many people around Luoyang. Ordinary people have very low expenses. Even Liu Qian's supply of meat is still not high. Compared to the opening and nurturing of special types of troops, such expenses are just a drop in the bucket. Individual physical training is not the right path, and Liu Qian also instructed his subordinates to teach them knowledge, at least literacy. Among special talents, there exists a characteristic of teaching and nurturing. After these people reach adulthood, only a few of them can succeed, and Liu Qian has made a lot of money. Even small talents can still manage a region. Make a steady profit without losing. Soldier Liu Qian may not be lacking in combat, but talent is truly lacking. The territory has expanded, and some well-known strategists are the top commanders, while both the lower and grassroots levels require talents. At this time, the Yellow Turban Uprising had not yet begun. Even though Liu Hong has caused a lot of trouble for the declining Han dynasty, he still maintains the expected situation on the surface. And the children brought by Liu Qian did not use any special means. Most of them are orphans. Even though the current war has not affected Luoyang, there are still many people who starve to death. If Liu Qian doesn't take action, most of these people will probably die. If they are lucky enough not to die, they may also become slaves to some people. In a sense, Liu Qian has given them new life. With the guidance of these tools, it doesn't take many years to form a huge intelligence network. Liu Qian clenched his fist slightly. Without concealing his wildness in his eyes, he said, "With intelligence, we can anticipate the enemy's opportunities. With my management, the unification of the world is not a problem anymore. Prepare a dowry, don't need too much, it's usually enough." After some thought, Liu Qian gave an order. "This is for Kai Yong." With Liu Qian's superficial identity, if he brings out huge wealth, it can easily cause some unnecessary trouble. Jia nodded slightly, and as Liu Qian waved his hand, he bent down and silently left. The curtain is about to open. Liu Qian's heart was only filled with excitement. In turbulent times, it was the most suitable era for men. "Gongda, how was your rest yesterday?" The next day, Liu Qian returned to the distillery. This Shaoqing wine is not much different from the wine of later generations, and it has enough stamina. Sun Yu rested for a day before finally recovering. Touching his slightly dizzy head, Sun Yu arched his hand. "Your Excellency, you have truly disgraced yourself this time." After waving his hand, Liu Qian smiled and said, "Do you really think that I, as a young Qing, have gained a reputation for drinking? Let's go, I'll take you to the Zhongjing mansion for handover, and you'll be serving under my command from now on. You must not disappoint my lord." Sun Yu's expression became more serious. Even as a member of the Sun family, Sun Yu knew what Liu Qian's actions represented. Liu Qian smiled and nodded. As Sun Yu thought, how could what Liu Qian did have no purpose at all? Chapter 6. Recognition of the Lord and the Form of the World. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. Sun Yu can be the mastermind. It's not that Liu Qian is boasting. In this era, Sun Yu is definitely among the top strategists. Zhuge Liang, Sima Yi, and even Gimu Guojia may be stronger than Sun Yu, but the gap is not too big. Man proposes, God disposes. Even in the same situation, these three people dare not say they are stable and superior to Sun Yu. Liu Qian brought Sun Yu to the Zhongjing mansion. After all, Liu Qian is a relative of the Han family and also a legitimate official. Coupled with his good relationship with Liu Yu, there will naturally be no setbacks. The handover was very smooth. It only took Liu Qian and Sun Yu an hour to return to the wine house. The servants have already prepared the banquet. Looking at the Shaoqing wine on the chopping board, Sun Yu's expression was somewhat exciting. There are no entertainment programs in this era, wine. Naturally, it has become one of the few main players in entertainment. The body is resisting, but the mind cannot refuse. Two people sit still. After 3 rounds of drinking, Sun Yu's condition was restored. People often continue to drink alcohol the next day after drinking too much, and their condition often recovers quickly. Master Youguan's ambition is higher than the sky. I don't know what he is trying to achieve. Sun Yu's gaze was burning. Sun Yu knew this as early as the first time he met Liu Qian. Before answering Gongda, I will first ask Gongda a question. Li Qian's expression remained indifferent. Since I have been in contact with Sun Yu and have been plotting for a whole year, some things are not good, and some things are hidden. What does Gongda think of the Han dynasty's current situation? Sun Yu was slightly surprised. I didn't feel surprised, but lowered my head to ponder. Lean down. Raising his glass, Sun Yu drank it and then sighed. The sun is setting in the western mountains. It's just 4 words, but it's already a reality. So how should Gongda solve it? Liu Qian smiled and asked back, saying that some things he said himself were not as good as what the other person said. Sun Yu is silent. Liu Qian didn't force any questions and waited quietly. You think that when we strive for excellence in governance, the current aristocratic family is rampant. At this point, Sun Yu paused. His Sun family was a leader in the aristocratic family, but Sun Yu was not an ordinary person and did not consider himself a member of the aristocratic family. He. Liu Qian smiled, and Sun Yu saw very accurately. This is just superficial, Gundam. What do you think is the most fundamental? Naturally, it's about replacing. Subconsciously responding, Sun Yu was once again stunned. Then the gaze towards Liu Qian changed. There are some things he dare not say. Gongda, there are only the 2 of us here. We have some words to say, but it doesn't matter. Sun Yu's expression is conflicted. This statement is very clear. Confession does not mean anything, and expressing oneself is also an important part of it. This relates to the most important factor. Trust. Liu Qian doesn't continue to force. As time slowly passed, Sun Yu was also silently pondering in his heart. After a long time, Sun Yu let out a sigh. Emperor Ling is promiscuous and immoral, and the accumulated wealth of the great Han dynasty has also been depleted over the years. You think that within a few years, the world will surely be in chaos. Okay. Liu Qian was very satisfied with Sun Yu's answer. Such an answer is enough. Some things don't need to be said straightforwardly, and Sun Yu's response is already considered heartfelt. Even if only 2 people are here, such an arrangement of the current emperor would be a crime of plagiarism and extermination. Sun Yu now knew what Liu Qian was thinking. Thinking beyond ordinary people, Sun Yu's various ideas have long been disconnected from the framework. Gongda thought, how am I? Sun Yu has already confided in Liu Qian, so he naturally wouldn't hide it. This is Liu Qian's understanding of Sun Yu. If it were Sun Yu, Liu Qian would not have said such a thing. The lord selects subordinates. And subordinates will also choose their lords. The dragon among all men. Just one sentence, but everything has been said. After such a long period of contact, Liu Qian would occasionally show some muscles. How could Sun Yu consider Liu Qian to be an ordinary imperial relative? How else can a top strategist be willing to bow down? It is enough evidence to say such words as Emperor Ling's debauchery and immorality in front of Liu Qian. If this is exposed, the charge of beheading cannot escape even if he is a descendant of the Sun family and a noble family. Gongda. Liu Qian looked at Sun Yu with a burning gaze. I used to be a bit cynical for a moment, but now I have become serious. If I were to say that the spirit emperor won't live long, and even a great chaos will break out next year. This. Sun Yu was slightly surprised. This information contains a lot of information. Although Emperor Ling Lu Hong was not very old, his body had already been emptied by alcohol and lust, and he also took elixirs, which made his previously depleted body even more frail. But outside, Lu Hong did not give people such a feeling. As for the outbreak of chaos. Before, I guessed it was a few years, but the adult accurately said it was next year. Sun Yu is pondering. It's not that I doubt Liu Qian's words. From the current situation, it seems that a major upheaval is inevitable, and the only difference is the timing. You believe in adults. Liu Qian nodded in satisfaction. After this conversation, the relationship between the two undoubtedly greatly improved. Don't doubt people, don't doubt employment. What if I say I want to replace it? No way. Sun Yu's decisive response. Then I saw Liu Qian looking at me with a smile on his face. At this time, Sun Yu was not very old and had not yet undergone the sedimentation of time, so he was somewhat immature. Slightly awkward. Sir, the Han dynasty appears powerful, but in fact, it has already declined and there are many hidden dangers. With one sentence, Sun Yu entered a state of state. A pair of eyes sparkled with wisdom. Although there are not many descendants of Emperor Ling, they are still enough to inherit. Even if something unexpected happens, there are many inheritors among the Han family. Sun Yu spoke confidently and said, even if all obstacles are cleared, achieving the goal will only result in a chicken rib. It's embarrassing to replace Liu Qian this time. Sun Yu's words are not so straightforward, but the meaning is very clear. Not to mention the sons of Emperor Ling, Liu Bian and Liu Xie, but to mention other relatives such as Liu Yu, Liu Yan, Liu Biao, etc., any one of them has a stronger reputation and background than Liu Qian. This Zhongshan Jingwang stallion has too many bloodlines, and Liu Qian's background is somewhat weak. So Gongda thought, what should I do? Liu Qian doesn't care, at least on the surface, this is the fact. Chapter 7. Materials for being a eunuch by birth. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Sir. Sun Yu's face was rosy, and the previous Shaoqing liquor was not for nothing. You thought that adults should take advantage of the chaos to enter the emperor's sight and have the opportunity to be released. By then, in just a few years, with adults' wealth, it is entirely possible to form a large army in a short period of time. Speaking of excitement, Sun Yu stood up with a glass in hand. At that time, according to the global situation, adults had too many directions to choose from, and the most important thing was. Your Excellency is a relative of the Han family. The statement is not very detailed, after all, things have not happened, even top strategists need to make specific judgments based on the corresponding situation. But what Sun Yu said coincides with what Liu Qian thought. Liu Qian was a traveler and had a deep understanding of the three kingdoms, which shows Sun Yu's ability. Build high walls, accumulate abundant grain, and slowly proclaim oneself king. Liu Qian silently uttered 9 words. Adults and talents, these 9 words have revealed the true meaning. I admire you. Sun Yu praised and bowed to Liu Qian at the same time. Liu Qian waved his hand and said, this is from the Ming dynasty. Liu Qian used it in the Three Kingdoms period. Cough cough. Just consider it as your own original creation. If you want to dominate the world and become a lord, being simple and upright is not feasible. How can you survive without being a black-bellied person? And that's exactly what Liu Qian wants to do. Leaving aside the high construction of the wall for now, Liu Qian had a rough idea of where to place it outside, but he had not yet determined. As for the second item, as long as Liu Qian continues to develop his various businesses, he naturally doesn't need to worry about money, but it takes time. Special types of troops are the ultimate killing move in Liu Qian's hands. Time is the foundation. As for proclaiming oneself king. When the world is in chaos, all the lords will rise together. It's time for Liu Qian to showcase his skills. Absolute strength is the fundamental way to control everything, Han family members. It will be a joke in the future. But it cannot be denied that the benefits brought now are unparalleled. Gongda. After drinking, Liu Qian put down his glass and looked at Sun Yu with a burning gaze. Have you ever heard of the Taiping Road? Taiping Road. Sun Yu frowned slightly. You have heard of it. It is said that this Taiping Road has developed rapidly and often dispenses some soup and medicine to disaster victims. Disaster victims. This exists too much in this era. As far as you know, this Taiping Road has a good reputation, especially among those disaster victims. Sun Yu's gaze flickered. However, in the long run, in the eyes of those disaster victims, even the emperor cannot compare to the Taiping Road. If this Taiping Road is not chaotic, then let it go. Hush. Sun Yu took a deep breath. In an instant. Your Excellency said that there will be chaos next year, so what you're talking about is Taiping Road. Liu Qian smiled but did not respond. When advisors choose their masters, Liu Qian is also considering Sun Yu. A top strategist also requires time to accumulate and a lot of experience. Undoubtedly, at this time, Sun Yu was still slightly immature. Sun Yu's thoughts suddenly changed in his heart. I didn't feel anything before, but after careful consideration. Be extremely anxious. The reputation of this Taiping Road has already become apparent, and even so in the surrounding areas of Luoyang, it is not difficult to imagine in remote areas. If there is really any dissent, and under a shout from the sky, there will be a continuous stream of responders, which is. Sun Yu's voice was a bit unnatural. Gongda, even if there is no Taiping Road now, there will still be Kaiping Road and Shunping Road in the future. What's important is that the Han dynasty's territory is decayed. Silence. You thought this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for the Lord. Is it my lord? Liu Qian smiled happily. The dragon among the lords is even more discerning than you, how can you not bow down? After making the decision, Sun Yu was equally happy. Since agreeing to do things under Liu Qian's command, Sun Yu had such a plan, but he didn't expect it to be confirmed so quickly. This is entirely due to Liu Qian's vision and charm displayed. The Lord can fully leverage this Taiping rebellion to form his own power. As long as there is chaos together, the Lord must choose an opportunity. With the Lord's financial resources, it is not a big problem to go on an expedition, but preparations need to be made in advance. Sun Yu didn't even care about drinking Shaoqing's wine. Gently tap your fingers on the table and talk confidently. Even if this Taiping Dao rises up, it is just a group of rebels. In the end, it will definitely be suppressed, and what the Lord wants to do is to get the greatest benefit during this period. Liu Qian nodded slightly. These few simple words from Sun Yu are deeply ingrained in Liu Qian's thoughts. And Liu Qian naturally began to prepare. With the help of Kai Yong, Liu Qian's reputation is not a problem. I still have money in my hand, and I can definitely use it to take me further and enter the sight of the Spirit Emperor. There is still some time left for the Taiping Road Rebellion, so there is no time. Afterwards, Liu Qian and Sun Yu discussed the details in detail. Due to a certain identity, the monarch and subjects are in perfect harmony. Previously, Sun Yu, who was somewhat depressed and frustrated, now seems like a sword unsheathed with a sharp edge. After 3 rounds of drinking. Because he was too excited, Sun Yu lay down on the desk again. Helplessly shaking his head, Liu Qian arranged for his servants to help Sun Yu rest. Jia. Master. Go home. Go to the palace and send a message, let Jia come back to see me. Yes. Without hesitation, Jia walked towards the outside. Liu Qian sat in the courtyard and waited quietly. It takes about half a cup of tea. A person wearing a black cloak walked in along the way. Jia pays respects to the Lord. The black-cloaked man knelt down on the ground. Get up. Liu Qian waved his hand, Jia stood up, and then lifted his cloak. A boy with a pleasing appearance caught the eye. Jia Force. 40, Intelligence. 80, Features. Flattery, pointing deer as horses. It is another dual characteristic existence. Flattery is easy to understand. Proficient in flattery, and this feature can greatly enhance the other person's favorability. As for calling a deer a horse, this requires a certain amount of power. The higher the power, the easier it is to suppress the other party and make them lower their resistance from the bottom of their hearts. 2 characteristics, in Liu Qian's eyes, are the natural material for being a eunuch. Chapter 8. Sudden Good News. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. However, even for tool people, after all, they were created by themselves, and Liu Qian still gave them the opportunity to make their own choices. Without hesitation, Jia willingly entered the palace with a clean body for the sake of his lord's great cause. Master, the villain has become the little yellow gate. Jia stood up, but his waist remained bent and he dared not look directly at Liu Qian. Although not as good as Zhang Rang and others, it has already gained Lu Hong's appreciation. You worked hard. Liu Qian is very satisfied. Liu Qian could only rely on Jia to obtain information from the palace. The Lord has killed the villain. For the Lord's great cause, the villain is willing to go through fire and water. As he spoke, Jia knelt down again, his body trembling slightly and appearing extremely excited. Alright, don't kneel so easily. Liu Qian has a headache. This sycophantic characteristic is the same as the character of the proactive Jia. He is false to Liu Hong, but sincere to himself as the protagonist. He is a loyal tool. I need to get into Liu Hong's sight as soon as possible. Liu Qian had already had a draft in his mind. I understand. Jia's eyes lit up. Finally, this is the time. These tool people naturally knew Liu Qian's purpose. After 3 years, it was finally time for the tiger to show its fangs. Given the current status of the villain, who is only under those constant attendants, coupled with the protagonist's status as a relative of the Han family, this is not difficult. After excitement, Jia talked confidently. But Liu Hong is greedy for pleasure and enjoys money. If he wants to be interested, it is most appropriate to start in this area. Jia clenched his fists tightly, appearing very confident. Hee. Liu Qian sneered. Liu Qian is very familiar with Liu Hong, the great-nephew. What if someone were to rebel? Upon hearing these words, Jia's eyes lit up and he said, if it's really as the Lord said, the villain has a great deal of confidence and can let the Lord go on a campaign. Now, Liu Hong has great trust in us. After talking about their areas of expertise, Jia has a certain level of confidence, let alone being in a high position now. The relationship between Shaoran and Zhang Rang is also good, and with the help of the protagonist, even if someone opposes it, it's not a big deal. Okay. What Liu Qian wants is this effect. The move of Jia was already arranged by Liu Qian. Oppose. That's for now. When it is done properly with Yong, Liu Qian's reputation will greatly increase in a short period of time, and he will also have the reputation of being a filial and honest person. Moreover, Liu Qian is a relative of the Han family, and even if Liu Hong is incompetent, he will take more care of his own people. After exchanging a few more words, Liu Qian asked Jia to leave. Jia's identity means that he cannot leave the palace for too long. After silently developing for 3 years, it's finally time. Liu Qian looked at the city of Luoyang in the darkness, feeling extremely agitated in his heart. May I ask, which man doesn't have such a heart? Half a month's worth of time flies by. Yong's mansion. Liu Qianjing was chatting with Yong. Since the incident was explained, Yong's attitude towards Liu Qian has changed. Liu Qian's dowry has already been received by Yong. It can be said that this matter is already firmly established, and as Yong, since he has agreed, he will naturally not backtrack. Shaoqing. Yong looked at Liu Qian with a smile on his lips. I have contacted some old friends and there is not a big problem with the matter of promoting filial piety and integrity. Liu Qian nodded in satisfaction. To uphold filial piety and integrity is even more useful in some aspects than one's own kinship status. With this title, as long as it spreads, not only does fame rise, but its impact is also significant. Father-in-law. Yong had no objection to Liu Qian's title, and his smile was even stronger, indicating that he was very satisfied. I will allocate some money for my father.And law to take care of it. Don't refuse. Seeing that Yong wanted to speak, Liu Qian quickly interrupted. Even though Yong's friends are all famous scholars from all over the world, no matter which era, worldly wisdom is inseparable. This way, my father.And law won't be difficult to do. Yong shook his head helplessly and said with a smile, since that's the case, then I should go. Besides, after the matter is completed, invite them to gather and introduce some talents to Shaoqing. Okay. Someone is easy to handle. The three things that Liu Qian asked Yong before were obviously taken seriously by the other party. My father.And law. Master. Just as Liu Qian was about to thank him, the voice of Jia Yi came from outside the door. What's going on? Liu Qian frowned slightly. Being disturbed at such a time is really unpleasant. However, these are all my own dead warriors, and if nothing unexpected happens, there must be something extremely important. Shaoqing, if you have anything to do, go ahead and get busy. Yong didn't mind either. He stood up with a smile and said, the chair that Shaoqing got is really good. It won't hurt his legs even after a while. I'll also go see those old friends. Having money is easy to handle, and after Liu Qian took the initiative to contribute, Yong was also extremely satisfied in his heart. After leaving the hall with Yong, the two parted ways. Although this is Yong's mansion, it is about to become a family, so Liu Qian naturally won't be seen outside. In the courtyard. Some of the people from Jingzhou have returned, as the Lord mentioned before, Huang Hansheng has been brought back. Okay. After hearing this, Liu Qian laughed and said, where is the person? In the Lord's mansion, without the Lord's arrangement, even petty people dare not make arbitrary arrangements. Without a response, Liu Qian strode towards the outside. These are all idle moves made by Liu Qianbu. As early as a year after crossing over, Liu Qian began to take action. Now that Emperor Ling is still in power, the timeline is relatively early, and some civil officials, strategists, and brave generals are still young, but it does not hinder Liu Qian from plotting their thoughts. Some Liu Qian, who cannot know the trajectory of his life, have no choice but to intervene. But what he knows, Liu Qian naturally won't let it go. Spread a wide net, as long as you catch one, it will make a big profit for Liu Qian. Not long after, Liu Qian returned home. In the living room, a young strong man sat among them. The strong man has a resolute appearance and a burly figure, but the tired and worried expression on his face cannot be hidden. Young version of Huang Zhong, TSK. Liu Qian sighed slightly, but his expression remained calm. Chapter 9. Nanyang Huang Hansheng. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. While observing Huang Zhong, he was also watching Liu Qian at the same time. He has a handsome appearance, a tall figure, and a graceful white robe wrapped in a jade buckle, highlighting a noble and superior temperament that cannot be concealed. Huang Zhong instinctively stood up. Lower your head slightly. Master. Huang Zhong is not the only one in the living room. Looking at the other person, Liu Qian felt a bit unfamiliar. There's no way, I have 10 children every day. It's not easy to remember all of them. And this group of people has been assigned by Liu Qian for 2 years now. After greeting the tool man, he looked at Huang Zhong. Hansheng, this is my lord, it is a relative of the Han family. As he spoke, the fervor in his eyes could not be concealed. My lord, this is Huang Hansheng from Nanyang. He is a good friend that the villain has made during this trip. He is righteous and most importantly, his formidable military prowess is rare in his life. I've seen adults before. Liu Qian could tell that the introduction was incomplete, but he could see Huang Zhong's predicament. Liu Qian, Liu Shaoqing. With a smile and a wave of his hand, Liu Qian arrived at the main seat and sat down. Hansheng is more casual. Gentle and unassuming, this is Huang Zhong's first impression of Liu Qian. The previously worried situation doesn't seem to have happened. At this moment, Huang Zhong was completely naked. And Liu Qian, on the other hand, is a relative of the Han family. How could he not hold any official position in this city of Luoyang? The difference in identities between the two sides is what Huang Zhong is concerned about. Master. Huang Su, the son of Hansheng, is young, weak, and sickly. As a result, Hansheng has been working hard all year round, and his subordinates know that the Lord has a famous doctor under his command. Therefore, we bring Hansheng here. The role of tool people is fully utilized. Puff. As the voice sounded, Huang Zhong, a burly man, knelt down directly to the ground. Huang Zhongyi is just an ordinary man, please, sir. Speaking of this, Huang Zhong choked up and his tiger eyes were filled with tears. Poor parents in the world. Liu Qian was somewhat moved, even the famous 5 tiger generals of the 3 kingdoms, Huang Zhong, could not escape. Hansheng, please rise up. Liu Qian's heart was stirred, and the tool man really didn't poke. It's just a small matter, Jia Yi. After waving his hand, Liu Qian looked at Jia Yi and said, hurry up to the clinic and bring Li Shizhen. Jia Yi quickly left. And Huang Zhong, who still knelt down, was excited and had his upper body straight. Shizhen, the renowned physician of Luoyang. At this point, Huang Zhong saw Liu Qian's expression, which seemed to be a smile rather than a smile, and his words came to a sudden halt. He is not a reckless and resourceless man. Liu Qian nodded in satisfaction. This Li Shizhen is not the same as Li Shizhen hundreds of years later. But it was nurtured by Liu Qian's unique characteristics, which are medical skills. This medical institution was also established by Liu Qian, but it's not for the public. Nature will not let people know. Over the course of several years, Li Shizhen has indeed gained a great reputation thanks to her unique qualities. The reason for the name. Liu Qian has no choice, can't a famous doctor still call him Jia 13 or Jia 16? What about a pussy? Only Dr. Li Daming could become famous hundreds of years earlier. Hansheng, I didn't lie to you, did I? The tool man beside him smiled and said, my lord's love for talent is well known to the world. Cough. He was boasted by his tool men and made Liu Qian blush. Laozi is now a Zhong Jingcheng, as the world knows, even though he is a loyal tool, he is almost enough. Sir. But at this moment, Huang Zhong was unusually moved. Leaving aside the details, Huang Zhong's biggest weakness lies in his son Huang Su's illness. No matter what. Before Huang Zhong could finish speaking, footsteps could be heard outside the door. A middle-aged man with an ordinary appearance walked in. So fast. Everyone is still surprised. As soon as Jia saw everyone's confusion, he smiled and said, I just went out and met Dr. Shizhen. Liu Qian understood clearly. These talented individuals with unique characteristics under his command were basically sent by Liu Qian to various industries and would report regularly. It's really a coincidence. As for Huang Zhong's previous words, they made Liu Qian very satisfied. It can be seen that Huang Zhong already has a submissive heart. I've seen it before, my lord. Li Shizhen first looked at Liu Qian and received a hint from his gaze before bowing directly. All right. Waving his hand, Liu Qian smiled and said, Hansheng, let's take him to see a doctor first. Huang Zhong's heart was once again deeply moved, and he nodded forcefully. Soon, in the living room, only Liu Qianjia and the tool man were left. This thing is done well. Liu Qian looked at the tool man and said, is this Jia 30 or 32? I'm not sure, Liu Qian wouldn't say it, it's a bit embarrassing. This characteristic gives birth to something that is truly irresistible. Various characteristics are like opening a blind box, and Liu Qian made a total of 50 rounds. This money is half the cost of opening a top-tier unit. In frontal combat, it is difficult to see the role of these people, but in other aspects, their role is no less than that of top-tier troops. This is what 30.2 should be. So it's 30.2, cough cough. Liu Qian nodded slightly. No wonder Liu Qian, after giving birth, Jia 32 was sent out. A 32, force. 40, intelligence. 40, features. Recruit. It is precisely because of this characteristic that Liu Qian sent him out, otherwise this characteristic would have been wasted. Liu Qian also discovered it. If these talents have two characteristics, then their strength and intelligence will be significantly improved, such as A1 and A2. If there is one characteristic, the two attributes are relatively low and balanced. It's been hard, then go down and rest for a while. Master. Jia 32 looks a bit excited. 32 is not hardworking. For the sake of my lord's great cause, 32 is willing to be heartbroken, said his face slightly flushed. Those goals, some of whom are still young, need to be rushed back early. Only through long-term contact can we gain their hearts. Only in this way will they dedicate themselves to the great cause of their lord. Good guy. These words left Liu Qian speechless. This tool person needs it. Chapter 10. Recognize the Lord, peak Huang Zhong's terror force value. You are listening at novel full.audio. Half an hour later. Huang Zhong, Li Shirzhen, and others return to the living room once again. It's the same process again. The burly man knelt down again. Sir, if you don't mind, Hansheng is willing to work tirelessly. Get it done. Liu Qian is very satisfied with this effect. At this point, the effectiveness of characteristic talents becomes apparent. Okay. If it weren't for Huang Zhong's willingness to recruit, he wouldn't have been included in the target. In his old age, Huang Zhong fought against Guan Yu for the first time with 100 rounds of equal victory or defeat, and was defeated by Guan Yu using a dragging knife strategy for the second time, but it was enough to prove his ability. In the later stage, Dingjun Mountain killed Xiahou Yuan, and the value of this force goes without saying. Not to mention. This is Huang Zhong in his prime, with his body at its peak. What would happen if he fought against Guan Yu? Master. Huang Zhong changed his tune. At this moment, his mood was stirring. Lord, Huang Su is suffering from tuberculosis. Fortunately, the duration of his illness is within a controllable range. As long as he takes medication regularly, he can recover within 1 or 2 years. Li Shirzhen explained on the side. Tuberculosis. It should be tuberculosis. In ancient times, if you were to suffer from it, you basically had no way to survive without encountering a famous doctor. Liu Qian nodded. This illness is indeed a headache. Okay. Jia Yi, command to go down and hold a banquet tonight to welcome Hansheng. My lord. Upon hearing this, Huang Zhong was deeply moved, his burly body trembling slightly. Even though he may boast of his strong military prowess, at this moment he is nothing but an ordinary person. Liu Qian's such courtesy, coupled with his son Huang Su already having no worries, how could he not pledge his loyalty to the death? At this moment, no one noticed that the jade pendant hanging on Liu Qian's body lit up slightly. Huang Zhong, peak period. Loyalty. 100, force. 99, intelligence. 78, features. Brave, strive through every step. This is. Liu Qian noticed the data before him and was slightly surprised. Previously, Liu Qian could also be seen, but it was only through the nurturing of characters. But at this moment, I actually saw it on a normal person. Previously, I couldn't see Sun Yu's attributes, but now I can see Huang Zhong. Liu Qian couldn't quite grasp the patterns behind it. Is it due to loyalty issues, or is it only after the recruitment of civil servants and generals that they appear? It's easy to confirm, just wait until I see Sun Yu again to confirm. To Liu Qian's satisfaction, after his own courtesy of a virtuous servant, and the treatment of Huang Su's tuberculosis, Huang Zhong's loyalty directly reached its full value. This is no different from one's own loyalty. Hansheng, go to the yard. It is false to say that you are not excited by accepting such a fierce general. Liu Qian stood up and walked towards the outside. The yard is very large. Since knowing that this jade pendant is a free tool given to people every day, it is related to his physical fitness. Liu Qian exercises every day. On both sides of the yard, there are 2 shelves filled with various weapons. Hansheng, let's practice. Master, this. Huang Zhong looked at his eager protagonist and felt a bit dumbfounded. Huang Zhong knows very well what level of military strength he has reached, and in the Jingzhou area, he has no rivals at all. Even more so, Huang Zhong believes that there are very few people in this world who can become their opponents. This is the arrogance of a warrior. Of course, if one were to become a general like Pan Feng, it would be a different story. Hansheng, you can defend yourself. I mainly want to see what level of force I have. Seeing Huang Zhong struggling, Liu Qian smiled and picked up a long spear from the side, saying, I have no doubt about Hansheng's bravery. Huang Zhong was even more moved. I firmly believe in the news I received from a subordinate. Where can I find such a lord? Okay. At present, Huang Zhong did not hesitate and strode to the side. When he arrived earlier, his package had been placed in the yard. Opening the package, Huang Zhong took out a phoenix-mouthed knife. Lord, please. Returning to the opposite side of Liu Qian once again, Huang Zhong was wielding a phoenix-mouthed sword, his momentum skyrocketing. Since I can see Huang Zhong's information, what about my own? An idea arose, and Liu Qian instinctively tried it. Liu Qian. Force 78, Intelligence 90 characteristics. The golden spear never collapses, greedy for money and lustful. I'm Nima. Even if Liu Qian had a good mentality, seeing such attributes would make him swear. A golden spear never falls. This can be available. Liu Qian is still very satisfied. This is indeed his exceptional talent, and his women will be blessed in the future. But greedy for money and lustful. Dog thing, isn't it because you forced me to be greedy for money? A Wei warrior has consumed a lot of my money, isn't I greedy? Liu Qian murmured silently in his heart. As for lechery, shouldn't it be a common problem of every man? But after becoming a characteristic, Liu Qian believed that it was definitely this dog deliberately targeting him. Roast, Liu Qian looked at force and intelligence. Liu Qian is quite satisfied with his intelligence of 90, which is not comparable to those top strategists, but it is still sufficient. Why do we need these strategists to come up with their own plans and strategies? In 3 years, I clearly felt my body strengthening day by day, and the warm current had a significant effect. But this has only reached 78 points of force. Isn't that to say that when I just crossed over, I'm afraid I only had 20 points of force? The most crucial thing is, this kind of military strength is on the same level as Pan Feng and Xing Daorong. Forget it, that's the same statement. I'm the Lord. What are you doing in person? Liu Qian's heart is a bit tired. My lord. Seeing Liu Qian standing still, Huang Zhong felt a bit puzzled. Hansheng, take the call. Liu Qian didn't think much either. After all, he had plenty of time, so he just needed to improve slowly. As for whether that warm current has increased both strength and intelligence, Liu Qian firmly denied it. Who? Without any clever moves, the long spear went straight towards Huang Zhong. The tip of the gun cuts through the air and makes a whistling sound. Huang Zhong remained motionless. Liu Qian was not worried at all. Huang Zhong, the peak, was too fierce, with a divine force value of 99. During this period, only LV Bu may be able to fight against one of them. Let Huang Zhong and Guan Yu fight, and now it's basically Guan Eri who loses.